Good afternoon, esteemed traders and investors. Today is Wednesday, November 19th. I present to your attention another market review for Forex. As always, I'm glad to be here with you today. So, let's carefully examine the calendar together. Let's discover what awaits us on this very interesting and eventful day. We'll filter by importance. So, today we have inflation data for the pound and for the euro. And in the US, there's construction data, crude oil inventories, and the FOMC minutes. So, all in all, a pretty average day. I remind you that on Thursday, we have the long-awaited unemployment claims, though oddly not on Friday. Strange, isn't it? What do you think about that? I already know, but you don't yet. Let's see what we can trade on the charts. Let's go! So let's start with gold quotes, which did react to the bullish breakout that I pointed out with my guiding finger. And from there, the quotes have already risen by almost 10,000 points. I'm showing the 4-hour time frame, which is why the move looks so big. If you look at the 15-minute chart, there was a very interesting little breakout right here. Let's mark it roughly in this zone during the European session. They tried to break the trend here, and it's still breaking. How high can we go? I think we can rise up to these highs at the very least. What does that mean? That means we've squeezed out the sellers over the past couple of days. What's next, you ask? Well, there are certainly options. Looking ahead, on the 4-hour time frame, there's a bearish breakout from last week, and from there, we can also expect a corrective move, roughly following this pattern. How deep the correction will go is unclear, so you can expect a pullback. If you went long, you can take profit here. But if you're ambitious, you can hold until a new high. There's a chance for that too, unfortunately, because there's a small area left that hasn't been cleared out. So if you're a die-hard seller, you can try playing out this kind of setup, something like this. As usual, analysts give two possible scenarios, but I base my analysis on specific zones, at the very least. So if you're holding longs and don't know what to do, but you believe in a bright, golden future, then you can close part of your position at this breakout, move your stop to break even, or trail your stop into profit and wait for a new high. If you really don't know what to do with the instrument and you have funds to short it, then in this zone you can try playing the bear and, for example, pull it down to around 25,000 points. It's up to you to decide. Looking for real trading advantages? Forex offers the lowest spreads and commissions. For major currency pairs, our conditions are more favorable, spreads are lower, and the commission is only $5 instead of $7. That's real savings for every trader. And now let's get back to our market overview. The EUR-USD pair has heroically retested the base of the initiative bar from November 13th, and right now it's still hovering at the bottom of its weekly range. The instrument is feeling pretty down, but I think all these sluggish moves are tied to anticipation of today's inflation news from the Eurozone and tomorrow's inflation data from the US. You might ask, what does the Euro have to do with the US? The thing is, the EUR-USD instrument is basically, my friends, a fraction that divides European news by American news. So, all the news swings from these strange cities, let's call them that, move this rate, and it ends up being so volatile. I probably need to start making educational courses for beginners in simple terms. So, in this zone, the instrument doesn't feel great because it's really squeezed into a sad state. On one hand, the mooring lines, or rather the long trend that lasted the last week and a half, have already been broken, and we're trading at the bottom. But on the other hand, there's this area by the highs that hasn't been taken out. It's not a clean area, it's more of a sluggish sloping story. So, I'm not giving any clear directions here for now. I'll remind you that on the weekly chart, we don't have any signals either. If there were, it would be a different story. In fact, this is a flat section, so for now, I'd take a wait-and-see approach because I don't see anything particularly interesting at the moment. Staying in a long here carries unclear risks. Where do you even hide your stops? Behind the nearest lows? That's not great. Behind the nearest highs? It's a half-baked area. So, in my opinion, it's better not to get involved here for now. As the great Jesse Livermore said, by the way, if you don't know who that is, look him up. Let the price determine your actions. I also want to remind you that every Forex client automatically receives loss insurance. For every $1 of compensation, only $4 of your friend's investments are required. Just submit a request, and your losses will be recovered. Let's continue with the review. The pound-dollar pair also spent all day yesterday going up and down, but basically closed at the short territory, meaning the area below the day's opening price. And here, as you can see, everything is basically going according to my scenario of holding short breakdowns. That is, from above, the instrument is being held down by a series of short breakdowns. Test, drop, another short breakdown, test, drop, drop, drop. And below, there's a long breakdown, just one, and it's already been tested once, twice, 3 times. The first test was where we bought together and caught that move. The second test was here, then the third, fourth, fifth, and now the 6th. So tell me honestly, my dear little lovers of big profits, after the 6th test, what do you think are the chances that this level will hold? I think they're pretty slim, to be honest. That's why I'd be looking at short positions here. Technically, the instrument is holding short breakdowns quite well, but there's only one long breakdown and it's already been hit many times repeatedly. So I'm in favor of a downward move. Also, let me remind you that on the weekly chart, we're in a state of uncertainty. A pin in one direction, some strange pin in the other. This tells us that the bulls are still very weak and not showing much strength. If this bar had closed with a strong bullish impulse, then the analysis would be completely different. So I think the downward movement will continue, and this will most likely be connected to tomorrow's news about unemployment in the US and the strengthening of the US dollar. With InstaForex, you can triple your profit. For every $4 of your friend's investments, you automatically get an extra $1 added to your profit with no extra conditions. The Australian dollar, my friends, is falling, and falling quite well. Yesterday, it did spoil the mood for sellers a bit, but overall, it has a strong short trend. During the Asian Pacific session, it's trading lower and putting incredible pressure on the sluggishly sloping trend line around 0.64, so 64900, 064800, basically in this zone. This line has already been approached many times, and ahead of us, my friends, are the non-farm payrolls tomorrow. I remind you, all the news for the Australian dollar has already come out. Breaking through this line is only possible with a strong dollar, and we have news coming up, so I'm in favor of further decline and have been saying this for a while. We still have quite a way to go. We need to cover at least 500, or better yet, 700, or even 1000, and ideally 1300. Of course, 1500 would be just what the doctor ordered to unload this whole camel's hump that's been drawn here over the past 6 months, and no one's been shaken out. Buyers are standing here, trembling, gritting their long teeth, but they don't want to give up their positions. They need to be shaken out, just like it was with Bitcoin, and that's exactly what happened there. So, I'm for a decline in quotes. That doesn't mean you need to rush in and sell right now. There have already been plenty of short breakdowns. If prices go higher, of course, you can add more shorts if you haven't already, but overall the trend is downward, and on the weekly chart as well. A pretty good short setup. We have already completely retraced last week's gains, and we have a downward trend starting from the pin bar. There's a short squeeze here. Even if the week closes as it is now, this short squeeze definitely means we should expect a collapse in this instrument. Dollar Canadian. Dollar Canadian managed to hold on to its long break a bit, but yesterday it lost some ground. Those who trade 1-1 with a stop of 300 had yesterday almost 500, but the instrument dropped. If it tests the long break zone below, that would certainly be very interesting news for buyers who could play this setup. Buy at the bottom with a stop behind the long impulse and then sell for a short. The potential is greater, I think, for many participants in the market. We also have a great offer. Fund your account and get a 30% tradable bonus. Trade with additional capital and expand your opportunities with InstaForex. On the other hand, the dollar-yen isn't generating any signals yet. I don't see anything particularly interesting or noteworthy happening here at the moment. That's all for now. Trade with InstaForex, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for new market reviews.